Stop pissing in the wind and telling yourself it's raining. And yes, I'm aware that's not the nicest image. That's exactly the point, because what most people are doing is equally not as nice. They just dress it up a lot better. I remember sitting in the taxi home after a night shift. It's a few years ago now, right? It's about 4 a.m. I've got training in 2 hours and I'm genuinely convinced that I'm making progress. I'm ticking boxes, I'm showing up every day, but nothing was actually being built, right? I was just maintaining and calling it a plan. And that's the thing, most people are not failing because they lack talent or discipline or opportunity. They're failing because they've gotten very good at lying to themselves about what they're actually doing, okay? And these are not big lies, these are small ones every single day that they tell themselves. I just need a bit more clarity before I move ahead, or I'm waiting for the right time, or I'm just getting myself in the right headspace. And that last one is one that used to get me because it sounds like progress. Someone saying they get themselves in the right headspace, yeah, they genuinely believe that they're working on something. Meanwhile, nothing around them has moved for the last 6 months. Monday comes and shockingly, and I know nobody saw this coming, but it turns out Monday's also the start to another hard week. Before you know it, the gap between where you are and where you said you wanted to be just keeps getting wider. And that's not bad luck. That is a decision being made every single day by default. So the uncomfortable question isn't, am I working hard enough? It's, am I being honest about whether what I'm doing is actually working and taking me closer to where I want to go? And most people avoid that question because if you ask it honestly, you actually have to do something about the answer. And that's significantly less comfortable than just continuing. Okay, continuing doing what you've been doing is very comfortable. And I highly recommend it if your goal is to be exactly where you are in 5 years' time. So look, I was working 2 jobs. One of them were night shifts. Whilst training for boxing at the same time, I was building my recruitment agency in the background. My days were backwards. I'd finish a shift, I'd go to training, I'd be sleeping in broken blocks, and I'd wake up and I'd do it all over again. And on the outside, it probably did look like I was disciplined. And on the inside, I thought I was, but I was actually exhausted and I was going nowhere. And I told myself I was building character, and yeah, maybe I was a little bit, but I was also just surviving and calling it a plan, which for the record is not the same thing. I was literally pissing in the wind and telling myself it was raining, but I had just enough going on that I didn't realize, okay? And the shift for me happened when I won a boxing match and I fucked off to Bali to see some chick, and something clicked. Right, not with her, not in some vague inspirational way. I'm not about to tell you that I stood on a beach and I had a spiritual awakening, but I've lived in a load of different countries growing up. Lived in America, lived in Germany, I lived all over the UK. And whenever I was about to move somewhere new, even somewhere I'd visited before, I could never picture myself actually living there. But this time it was different, and probably had something to do with the fact that I could ride my bike anywhere, it wasn't raining, and nobody was taxing my fucking income to the ground. But you know, whatever the reason was, I felt it, I realized it, and I knew that this is where I wanted to be, at least for this chapter. So I came home with a completely different mindset, right? Not because I had more motivation, but because now I had a specific target to work towards. You know, before Bali, I was working hard because I had to, but after my trip, I was working hard because I knew exactly what I was buying with that hard work. And that is a completely different thing. And you know, most people will never actually make that shift towards working towards a goal. So what I learned is, right, discipline gets easier when you're clear on what you're buying with it. And most people are not undisciplined, they're just unclear. They're paying a price every day without knowing what it's for. And eventually they just stop paying it. So waiting for clarity before you commit is literally one of the oldest lies. Clarity doesn't come before you move, it comes because you've started to move. And I spent years trying to design a perfect plan before starting. When I actually started, the plan was never perfect. Okay, what changed things was taking imperfect action and then adjusting from there. Now, boxing taught me this more than anything else. Because in the ring, you do not get to opt out when it gets hard. You can't decide mid-round, you know what, I don't actually want to do this. You know, maybe I should try something else. You keep going, you fucking get dropped. Okay, but outside the ring, I was changing my mind. I was doing exactly the opposite, right? It was slow progress. It was the wrong path. I'd change direction. I'd reset the clock entirely. And I'd wonder why nothing ever compounded. And most people don't fail because they lack potential. They fail because they're putting their energy into the wrong things. And then, you know, they quit when they don't see the results they want. Quitting resets the clock every time. Very consistent in that way, actually. It is one of its better qualities. At least you know when you quit, you're just going to continue not getting results, right? So as you can see, I'm in Bali right now and I'm not on holiday. I'm building. high ticket sales, property sales, I've got my recruitment agency, I've got multiple income streams designed to compound. And this is not to impress anyone, right? This is to give me control over my time and ultimately where I'm gonna end up. That is the actual goal. It's not the lifestyle photo, it's the freedom that I've got now. And some weeks, yeah, they feel like I'm moving forwards. Some weeks feel a bit flat, and I've realized that both are normal. And I've learned to stop treating the flat weeks as evidence of anything except that building something takes a little longer than the people selling you courses would like you to believe. I am far from some finished destination, right? I'm currently in the build, and that's exactly what this channel documents. I want this to share all of the recalibrations, the weeks when nothing moves, and what I actually do about it. This channel is not about motivation. I'm not gonna tell you to fucking believe in yourself. Partly because I think you should work that out on your own, partly because it's just not a very useful thing to say to an adult. What I'm gonna show you is how I think, how I make decisions, where I get it wrong, and what I've done differently because of it. You know, real situations, actual lessons, right? Nothing I haven't lived through personally and had to fucking clean up afterward. If this does sound like a bit of you, then subscribe or we might not see each other again. I'm just getting started and it's only gonna get more interesting from here. So the question to sit with is simple. Am I being honest about whether what I'm doing is actually moving me forwards, or am I just staying busy enough that I don't have to look at the answer? Check the fucking wind direction you're going in. If that landed, drop a comment, let me know where you're at, and I will see you in the next one.